me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, gotta feel the tension. In my thoughts.
Welcome back, everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. Today, we are going to be talking about not one of the players. We'll talk about the coach, Mike McDaniel, and how I believe that he can improve from year one to year two. In year one, it was pretty spectacular. Obviously, we got the offense that we had dreamed of. We got everything down packed, but there were a lot of different things that we could have done differently that probably would have won us different games. And I can honestly chalk it up to rookie coaching. You know, you got to understand that being a rookie head coach is similar to being a rookie player in that there's so much more that you have to take care of. There's so much more that you have to wrap your head around in order to advance to the next level. It's the same thing like a player where you essentially have to get the next level of what you are trying to be successful at. When you are just an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, what you only focus on is the offense. When you're a head coach, it's not even just the offense and the defense. It's scouting, it's, you know, player development. It's all sorts of things encompassed in one person. And obviously you have underlying people that will allow you to delegate different things, but you are essentially running the team the way that you want to run it. That is how Bill Belichick and coaches like that have been so successful, is that they delegate, but in the whole entirety of the team, it is how they wanted the team to be. So Mike McDaniel, there are a couple things that he could have done probably differently that I think he has learned from, and he's learning from right now during this offseason that he is going to correct in year two. And we'll start off with number one. And I think this is something that a lot of people said, and it's something that I said too, because it's very important. Now, I think we need to run the ball a little more. We have to be a little more run heavy. And what I'm saying is we don't need to be not a passing team, because we are a passing team. That's what we are as a Miami Dolphins team. Don't get any mistake of it. Yes, Mike McDaniel was a run type of offensive coordinator, but with the quarterback and the receivers and all that different stuff. What's that one? We are a pass-based offense, but I think a lot of the time where you can kind of gain is that it's just like you gaining confidence in real life, in that sometimes you need to take small steps in order to get yourself going, whereas you can't just jump right into something and be confident at it. Well, it's the same thing as in game, where sometimes the passing isn't working, and instead of trying to force the passing and force fitting the ball in and force all these different things to get the passing game going, which is I think kind of what we did, is we thought we're not hitting, so we just need to hit that big play and then the offense will start speeding up. What we really needed to judge it by, and what I think he is starting to understand, and actually he has said it throughout the offseason as well, is that some of those times you just need to start running the ball, gaining some yardage, gaining some positive yardage, because when you pass the ball, yes, it does account for big plays. It does account for, completions and all those other things. But also there are times where if it's not working, you might be getting sacked. There are incompletions. There are either zero or negative plays coming from the passing game. Whereas, yes, you can't have negative plays from the run game, but for the most part, you typically gain about 1 to 2 yards, unless your offensive line is just hot garbage at run blocking, and that might be the case well. But for the most part, when you watched us last year, the run blocking was pretty good. I mean, every time we did run the ball, we typically were successful. Of course, against the 49ers, and I think that was the only game that we might have struggled a little bit, and we still kind of moved it forward just a tad each time. You're gaining positive yardage when you do that. And I think what he's going to learn this year is that sometimes you don't need to rely on the passing game so much. Sometimes you just need to run the ball and keep control of the tempo of the game, where when you pass the ball, the thing is one, if it's incomplete, the clock stops. Two, again, there could be sacks or negative yards, which puts Tua in a different type of position. That's one of the other things that running the ball does, is that it gets the ball out of Tua's hands sometimes in order to make a play. And that's what he needs to encompass coming into this next year, is that you need to start running the ball a little more in order to make it so that one, it gets out of Tua's hands. You have plays where it is not on Tua to make a play. And two, you gain that small step-for-step yardage that allows your offense to gain confidence, because that's all it really is. You know, especially with the type of quarterback that Tua is, if you are gaining yardage through running the ball, you can build a little bit of confidence in the quarterback that he doesn't have to do everything. And I think what happened with the 49ers and some of the other games is that we weren't running the ball, and Tua felt like he just needs to do stuff. You know, the defense doesn't stop anybody, and he just felt like he needs to make a play instead of just calming down and just throwing the ball where he needs to throw the ball. Now, the next thing is going to be the play calling. And what we saw last year, it wasn't just getting the play call in late, it was also getting down packed the shifting and the motions that we need to get down packed, because there were so many times where we could have started moving the ball and then we had an illegal motion or somebody didn't get set. You know, these are things that, one, it comes down to the receiver and the quarterback, you know, but it also comes down to the coach getting the play in earlier. You need to get that so that you have enough time to move in motion. Because I saw what would happen is, a lot of the time, the play clock would be going down to like 3 while the person is still moving. So they had to rush to get into the spot, and then you're trying to get set, but you're still kind of moving, and then you would get that illegal motion. You would have to call a timeout. You'd have to do all these different things. And that comes with time. That just comes with essentially basing your training camp and this next year of allowing the players to understand the playbook better. Obviously, you have this first-year head coach that is very dynamic, and the plays are just very complicated. So it is hard to get everything down-packed immediately. Now you have year 2 to really, really dive deep and get yourself more immersed into this playbook and allow yourself to understand the idiosyncrasies and the little niches that you need to have with this, instead of just trying to understand the entirety of it. And that's what's going to come into this year 2, is that I believe that Mike McDaniel needs to, one, get the plan way quicker. We need to get that plan right around like 20 seconds so that everybody can move shift, Tua can audible. Because that's another thing, you know, Tua can't audible and do certain things if the play clock's running down, because you have to audible with everybody or else somebody's going to run the wrong route. That's not good. So when you get the play call in and allowing these players to get shifted and move in a motion that will allow them to get set for the play. Because like I said, we had way too many plays where it was illegal motions just because we didn't have enough time to get set, you know, and that's a big problem. So this next year, I think he's going to come in, getting that play call in quick, getting it in so that he can move people in motions. You can audible. You can do so much more when you have more time on the play clock. So that is another thing that he really needs to work on this year, that I think he's going to. I think in this training camp, you know, him creating a new playbook, he needed to get used to what he's trying to call and all these different things, because he's a genius, man. He's an offensive genius, and I think now he's going to settle into being the head coach. He has more people to delegate, just focus on creating this playbook and allowing people to understand the playbook and delegate the way that he needs to delegate. And the last thing, which I think is the most important thing, I think the offense was super flashy, but we needed to just have some cheap, short yardage plays, and I think we didn't have a lot of those last year, and I think that's what really hindered us in some of those big games, is that we kept trying to go for the big play. And the problem with that is that when you're going for the big play, of course it's explosive, and the Ravens game is a surefire way to example that. But the problem with that too is you also have games like the Chargers and the 49ers where you could have just had plays where we just had quick short yardage plays, and that would have helped us out a lot in those games. So I think in year 2, you need to incorporate, yes, you have those flashy plays, and if they're there, go for it. But having a player or a couple players that allow you to have just that quick short yardage pass that either can gain 20 yards or can gain 5 but still gains positive yardage. Again, it's all about building confidence with the offense. And if you keep going for big plays and they're not working, which we saw in the 49ers game, we saw it in the Chargers game, you know, when we see these things and it was not working, you need to have another type of game plan. And I think, again, it was like running the ball was one of them. And short yardage pass, if you want to be pass heavy, you know, there are a lot of teams, like, for instance, Patrick Mahomes, a lot of his plays are yards after the catch. A lot of his plays are just getting it out to, like, McCole Hardman or the running back, I forgot his name, not Pacheco, McKinnon. A lot of it is just getting it out to those players and allowing them to do something with it. And I think that's something that we didn't do, and that's why some teams would back their linebackers up, because we didn't really have too many plays that were short yardage. We were just trying to get that big piece every single time that we threw the ball, and that is something he needs to incorporate into his playbook, is allowing his team to just dink and dunk if things aren't working. That's essentially what Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls with, is he would just dink and dunk or take whatever you give him, you know. So if you are just going for big plays, a lot of teams saw that, hey, if we just push our linebackers back, that's what they do. They're trying to get that over the middle play with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and they weren't worried about the underneath because we weren't doing it. And that's a problem, because what they're doing is, if you're pushing your linebackers back, well, first off, buddy, you got a run game, because the linebackers have to run forward in order to get a running back. You know, so that's one thing that you're missing out on. And two, if the linebackers are pushing back, that means that underneath slot area is wide open. So you not running a player there is just not taking advantage of a positive play. That is something that he needs to incorporate in this offense. And I think it's a lot of the times that's what we saw, is that even the fullback was running wheel routes, you know, where it's like, we just needed somebody to just go out in the flat, just sit there. And just, you know, if you're pushing your linebackers back, if everybody's pushing everybody back for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, have that little running back right out there. And that's, again, why I think they got Devon Achane, is because you now have that guy. But have some of those just dink and dunk plays in the playbook, or in these plays, so that if the big play isn't there, well, you can just get it out to somebody and just get a positive yardage. Because I think that's sometimes what we needed. We were in so many games. I think all the games this year, actually, no, all the games this year, yes, I'm 100% positive. All the games this year that we lost was by less than a touchdown. So what that tells you is that we were in every single one of these games. And if we just incorporated some short yardage plays, it would have kept us in this game. First off, it takes the ball out of the hands of the other offense. And two, it allows you to get positive yardage instead of no yardage, instead of negative plays, instead of Tua possibly getting hurt. It allows him to get the ball out of his hands instead of having to hold it for these big plays. That's another thing. You know, if the offensive line can't hold, he can just dunk it out to somebody, get the ball out of his hands instead of having to hold it in case Tyreek Hill is doubled, Jalen Waddle's doubled. You know, you need to have some of these plays to allow him to just let the ball loose, not take a hit. That's part of keeping your quarterback safe. Those are the 3 things that I'm going to tell you right now are going to make Mike McDaniel, and I know that he is very much so aware of these things. So he is going to do a lot of different maneuvers and tactics to make sure that these are corrected coming in year 2. I know he's heard all of these different things. So he's not naive. He's going to incorporate a lot of this stuff, and I think it's going to make this team much better coming into year 2. And I think it's going to make us, again, a playoff contender and a dark horse, you know, coming into the season. He's going to implement this, and this is going to make him better. He's not a rookie coach anymore. No rookie mistakes. But just wanted to make a short video kind of telling you what I believe Mike McDaniel needs to improve on coming into next year. But as always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Fins up, baby. Peace.